Good evening, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari, on My Education Treasure, and today I am going to explain about the micro teaching, the meaning of it, and definitions and origin. As you all know, that the future of India is being shaped in our classrooms. The first sentence of the report of Education Commission specifies that there is a clear relation between our classes and future. Whatever is taught in the classes has a direct effect on the future of a nation. Education is an important instrument of human development, as you all know. The quality of education also largely depends upon the quality of teachers. It is the need to improve the quality of teacher education program. The method for training in teaching adopted in training institutions needs scientific approach. Supervision of practice teaching is haphazard and mostly it is unreliable. There is no organized form of feedback regarding the performance of the teacher in the classroom. The suggestions offered by the teacher educators are mostly subjective. They are based on general impressions. In this context, the alternative approach adopted is micro teaching. Now, what is micro teaching? Micro teaching is the most important training procedure for teacher preparation aimed at simplifying the complexities of the regular teaching process. This training concept can be applied at various pre-service and in-service stages in the professional development of teachers. It was first adopted by Dwight Allen and his co-workers in 1961 at Stanford University, USA, to modify the teacher's behavior according to the specified objectives and to prepare the effective teachers. Microteaching is also called the scaled down teaching encounter. It is scaled down in terms of class size to a group of 5 to 10 students in the length of class time and is reduced to 5 to 10 minutes and in terms of teaching task. It helps the teacher trainee to master the teaching skills. It requires the teacher trainee to teach a single concept of content using a specified teaching skill for a very short time to a very small number of students. The teacher trainee practices the teaching skill in terms of definable, observable, measurable, and controllable forms with repeated cycles till he attains mastery in the use of the skill. A teacher can use several techniques and procedures to bring about effective learning of his students. These activities include introducing the lesson, demonstration, explaining, or questioning. These teaching activities are given the name of teaching skills. Micro teaching allows practicing any skill independently and integrating it with other skills in familiar environment. Many teacher trainees and teachers are under the wrong notion that micro teaching is a method of teaching. Micro teaching is not a method of teaching. This is a laboratory and analytical method of teacher training. The main aim of micro teaching is to provide training of teaching skill to the teacher trainee. Micro teaching is a training concept that can be applied to various pre-service and in-service stages in the professional development of teachers. Micro teaching provides the teachers with practice setting for instruction in which the normal complexities of the classroom are reduced and in which the teacher receives a great deal of feedback on his performance. This is said by Allen. Dwight Allen has also described micro teaching as a scaled down teaching encounter. According to Young, micro teaching is a device which provides the novice and experienced teacher alike new approach and opportunities to improve teaching. M.B. Butch has said about microteaching that microteaching is a teacher education technique which allows teachers to apply clearly defined teaching skills to carefully planned lessons in planned series of 5 to 10 minutes encounter with a small group of real students, often with an opportunity to observe the results on videotape. Allen and Ryan has opined about microteaching that the term microteaching, while specifying the following essential characteristics, it is a real teaching situation. It reduces the complexities of the real classroom teaching situation in terms of the number of students, the amount of time, and the amount of learning contents. It emphasizes training for mastery of teaching activities such as skills, techniques, methods, and curriculum selection. It offers better control over practicing teaching activities because many factors easily can be manipulated to attain this greater degree of control in the training program. The feedback dimension is explained considerably because the student can receive meaningful feedback immediately after his performance and with the help of a variety of technological teaching media as well as observation and interaction analysis instruments that can make the opportunity to improve his performance in the light of the feedback provided. According to Allen and Eve, a system of control practices that make it possible to concentrate on specific teaching behavior and to practice teaching under control conditions. Alice and Unwin has said that microteaching is most often applied to the use of closed circuit television to give immediate feedback to a teacher trainer performance in a simplified environment, but suggests that microteaching is best viewed as a form of simulated teaching incorporating reduced complexities and some feedback placed along a simulation spectrum ranging from the purely abstract textbook of teaching practice through to actual classroom teaching. According to Clift and others, microteaching as a teacher training procedure which reduces the teaching situation to simpler and more controlled encounter achieved by limiting the practice teaching to a specified skill and reduced teaching time and class. Pasi and Lalita has opined that microteaching is a training technique which requires student teachers to teach a single concept using specified teaching skills to a small number of pupils in a short duration of time. Jangira and Singh has also defined microteaching as a training setting for the student teacher trainee where the complexities of the classroom teaching are reduced by practicing one competent skill at a time, limiting the contents to a single concept, reducing the size of the students from 5 to 10 in a class, and reducing the duration of the lesson to 5 to 10 minutes. According to McKnight, microteaching is scaled down but realistic classroom context which offers a helpful setting for a teacher to acquire new teaching skills and to refine the old ones. It does so by reducing the complexities and scope of such classroom components as the number of pupils and length of lessons by providing trainees with information about their performance immediately after the completion of their lessons. Sharma has opined that microteaching is a specific teacher training technique through which trainees practice the various teaching skills in a specific situation with the help of feedback with a view to increase the students' involvement. By specific situations, Sharma means that a small time to practice, that is 5 to 7 minutes, in a small number of students, 5 to 7, and a small length of practicing material. Shore says that microteaching is real teaching reduced in time, number of students, and range of activities. According to Olivero, microteaching is scaled down sample of actual teaching which generally lasts 10 to 30 minutes and involves 4 to 10 students. A microteaching session stimulates a regular classroom instructional period in every way except that both time and number of students are reduced. According to Kevets, microteaching is a method of training teachers where explicit use is made of the principle of feedback and where the teacher learning situation remains limited with respect to number of students to whom the lesson is given, the duration of the lesson, the extent in terms of content and didactic presentations. And lastly, according to Cooper and Allen, who has defined microteaching is a teaching situation which is scaled down in terms of time and number of students. The lesson is scaled down to reduce some of the complexities of the teaching act, thus allowing the teacher to focus on the selected aspects of teaching. Now we are going to compare the micro teaching with traditional teaching. Objectives are specified in the behavioral terms in micro teaching, whereas objectives are general and not specified in behavioral terms in traditional teaching. In micro teaching, the class is divided into small groups of 5 to 10 students. The class consists of 40 to 60 students in traditional teaching. The teacher trainee practices only one selected skill for practice at a time in micro teaching, whereas in traditional teaching, the teacher trainee practices the whole complex teaching. The duration of time for teaching is 5 to 10 minutes in micro teaching, whereas the duration is 40 to 60 minutes in traditional teaching. In micro teaching, immediate feedback is provided, but immediate feedback is not available in traditional teaching. In micro teaching, teaching is carried out under controlled conditions or situation, whereas in traditional teaching, there is no control over situations. Teaching is relatively simple and non-threatening in micro teaching, whereas teaching is relatively complex and threatening in traditional teaching. In micro teaching, the role of supervisor is specific and well defined to improve teaching, whereas the role of supervisor is vague and is not useful to improve teaching in traditional teaching. The patterns of classroom interaction can be studied objectively in micro teaching, but the patterns of the classroom interaction cannot be studied objectively in traditional teaching. In micro teaching, develops more awareness among teacher trainees with regard to professional training, but there is no awareness among teacher trainees in traditional teaching. Micro teaching enunciate better scoring in the university examination than their counterparts in conventional teaching. The origin and development of micro teaching. The immediate predecessor of micro teaching was the demonstration lesson used at Stanford until 1961. The demonstration lesson involves a student presenting a lesson to a small group of fellow students while the rest of the class looks on. From the beginning, the demonstration lesson had shortcomings and it developed in such a way that eventually it resulted in micro teaching, as it was called for the first time in 1963 at Stanford University in USA, when an experimental project on the identification of teaching skill was in progress under the guidance and supervision of faculty members. This project was aided by Ford Foundation and Kettering Foundation. The team of experts was assigned the development of testing and evaluation tools to measure the attainment of teaching skills. At this juncture, Keith Atchison, a research worker, was investigating the utility of videotape recorder in the development of technical teaching skills. This instrument could be used for recording the class interaction and the behavior of the teacher trainee vividly and accurately. This led to the development of a systematic and an accurate method of giving feedback to the teacher trainee. Since then, this technique of teacher training has been widely used in almost all colleges and universities in all the teacher training programs for developing teaching skills and competencies among the teacher trainees. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.